So I'm at Network School this month, and people might ask me, what did I get out of this place? Or what am I getting out of this place? And I can talk about all the wonderful people that I've met, the great talks I've been to, everything I've learned, the vibe of the place, how people are just so open to conversation, getting to know you. There's a lot of techno optimism, as people put it here, because if you're here, then at some level you're open to the idea of the network state. And Balaji's talks on it are quite compelling, quite inspiring, very convincing, I would add. And even if you're not into that, it's just a great co-living space. Everything's being taken care of, the food's been taken care of, the ambience of the place is nice, you're on a little island. And again, you've got great people, you've got great gym training, but again, the people. Good conversations with people who are looking to build or improve themselves. We were talking about the culture the other day. I mean, the tagline that we're told is win and help win. And then a bunch of us were talking about that, and we were also able to sum it up as a culture of excellence. Everybody here wants to pursue excellence in their own way. They want to excel in themselves. So I could say all of those things about Network School, about how that was the core experience for me. But the truth is, that being said, and that's definitely part of the experience, for me personally, the most revealing thing about this place was how it's forced me to reckon with all of my insecurities, my thought patterns, my negative thought patterns, and to just have to face them and deal with them. I mean, the first thing is, let's say, the fact that there are very few women here. The ratio is terrible. And I found myself just focusing on the few women that there are. I mean, very attractive women. And I'm really noticing them and noticing myself noticing them. And I was asking myself, why am I looking at these women? Like, I don't normally focus on women in the vicinity like that. And I realized it's because there aren't that many women here. There's something about that makes them more noticeable to me. Whereas back home, where the ratio is 50-50, I don't do it. And it made me realize that having a balanced gender ratio is actually important for getting stuff done and being able to be focused and just to be calmer as a man. I mean, I don't know if the same thing applies to women, but as a man, that's how I feel. And it also made me realize that I can't be here long term without my woman. I just can't. If I was single and I'm being here long term, I've got to find a woman. I've got to have regular sex. I've got to have intimacy. I've got to have feminine connection. And maybe if the gender ratio was 50-50, I wouldn't need a partner. Because then I would be interacting with women more often. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure, but definitely something I noticed. I also asked myself whether I'm looking at these women because my relationship isn't the best it could be, and I'm not in love with my partner, and therefore I'm always looking for options. But that's a larger story. I'll get into some other day. That aside, the other thing that I noticed about myself was how I've got insecurities around my age a little bit. So being a startup founder, you can do it at any age really, but Network School definitely trends more towards the people in their 20s and 30s. And I'm in my 40s. There are people here older than me, but it's not really the age, it's more that at 43, I've been working professionally for 20 years and I'm still working. and you've got 20-year-olds who are working on their business idea and getting funding. And I mean, I guess it's not that unusual. I mean, there are teenagers who are multimillionaires today thanks to content creation. But it's just a reminder of how there's so much I could have done in all this time. And I'm a great programmer. And that's the other thing. I mean, we've got lessons here on vibe coding. And I use AI to code. I don't write my own code anymore. The AI does the coding, I direct it. But basically, what I'm trying to say is that being a great programmer is not as much of an advantage today as it used to be, because almost everyone can build now with AI. Of course, I do feel that, as is always true, you just have to aim for things that your competitors can't easily replicate. So that means more complexity. But great product isn't the more complex product. A great product is a product that sells, that people want. And there's just a part of me that when I speak to somebody who either has succeeded, and they're all younger than me, as in they've exited the startup, they've become a multimillionaire, or I speak to someone who got funding from the top guns here and they're working on something, and I just think to myself, what am I doing? I feel insecure. I feel insecure about myself, and I feel like I've been working so long, I ought to have done something right now. Now, logically, I know that it's because I'm surrounding myself with people like this that I feel that way. And if I was, for example, back home meeting the general programmer who just works in a company, there are plenty of people in their 40s and older who have just been working a job their whole life. But I've always felt that I've got real potential and that I am intelligent, I am capable, and that I ought to be able to do a startup. I have that ambition. I have the ambition to make money, to become wealthy, to impact the world. And I think that's why it bothers me. That's why it bothers me. So, people say, well, when you come to a place like this, you'll feel really inspired by all the people around you building. And I do feel inspired to build the energy. I feel the energy, but I also feel an insecurity because I'm in my 40s and I haven't done a startup and I haven't done any exits or anything. And it sounds silly, I'm sure, to a lot of people, but I get that feeling. And I think the feeling's most acute when I meet somebody who is running a business and then they talk about their life. They're running a business and they're successful and they've got their partner, their wife, and they've got a kid. And a lot of people just, by the time they hit my age, they've gone that linear path so perfectly. They've got a partner, they've done lots of dating, they've had their fun, and then they met someone they love, they settle down, they have a family, they build a business, and it's just this beautiful linear progression. And of course, not everyone has that progression like it, but when I meet people like that, it stings. It just stings for me. I don't have anything against them. I just feel a bit sorry for myself, and I feel a bit at a loss, actually. I feel like I'm a bit lost. Like, what am I doing? I'm not in love with my partner yet. Maybe it's not been long enough for that, but I've struggled with relationships, and the relationships that I've had, I've struggled to reach the point where I'm so in love with somebody, I want to marry them. And those relationships ended. I ended them. I just was restless, and I still have that restlessness. So that area of my life is unresolved. And then with startups, there are so many ideas that I've started to build over the last 15 to 20 years. And then I would stop at some point. I would just give up because I didn't believe in it. It didn't get traction, and I wouldn't continue long enough. And then I've even had situations where I work on something, it gets a bit of traction, but then it dies down, and I don't realize that I'm supposed to push with marketing. And then later on, someone else, and I stop doing it. And then later on, I see someone else do the idea and they succeed with it because they just kept going. So I've had to learn lessons like that the hard way in my life. I love building, I love coding, and so my natural tendency is to code and build. But I'm much better now in terms of knowing that I need to market products. But still, there's just this feeling that I'm overthinking it, and I should have done so much more by now. It's like I haven't yet achieved who I want to be, who I want to become. And being a founder, building a business, taking something from zero to something is something that I really aspire to. So the money doesn't even matter. It's about this. And that applies in my relationship, that applies in my fitness, and just who I want to be as a man, actually. So these are all the things that have come up in these last 2 weeks that I've been here. And the way I'm dealing with it is to just be present. It's not something that I can fix overnight. These thoughts, these thought patterns, these negativities. And I've had them for so long, for years now. So I have to learn to be present and to, through that, not allow it to take me over completely.